Look closely at the eye of a dragonfly. It processes the world through thousands of tiny lenses, perfectly adapted for life over ponds and marshes. It is an anatomy completely alien to our own. This diagram shows a sprawling phylogenetic tree. If you trace the branches back, the lineage of mammals and the lineage of insects split hundreds of millions of years ago, separated by a diverging chasm of evolutionary history. Despite that massive gap in time and development, researchers recently isolated a biological overlap. Deep inside their eyes, these insects possess a visual mechanism that functions exactly like ours. Both humans and dragonflies rely on the exact same genetic architecture to process and perceive the color red. Finding the same highly specific biological programming in two distinct branches of life forces biologists to rethink how nature arrives at solutions for complex problems. Light and color are translated for the brain by specialized proteins in the eye called opsins. Think of them as microscopic receivers tuned to specific wavelengths of light. This color spectrum maps human vision, peaking at the red band with a hard stop at 560 nanometers. For dragonfly vision, the spectrum line extends past that wall into a near-infrared zone, ending at 720 nanometers. They see light entirely invisible to the human eye. They need this extended range to survive. Male dragonflies process massive amounts of visual data through unfocused lenses, and seeing deep red allows them to identify females in mid-air instantly. By filtering the visual noise to spot mates immediately, they save the energy needed for reproduction. It operates as a highly energy-efficient biological tool. When two distantly related species independently develop similar traits to solve comparable survival challenges, biologists call it parallel evolution. This wireframe schematic represents an opsin protein chain. Zooming in, we isolate a specific node known as position 292. At this exact location, human and dragonfly DNA mutated independently to respond to red light in the exact same manner. The difference is incredibly subtle. A shift of just one single amino acid at this position allows the dragonfly's opsin to push deeper into the infrared spectrum than ours. Nature arrived at the same genetic sequence for seeing red light twice, in two species separated by 300 million years of history. This discovery matters for human medicine, specifically in a field called optogenetics. This practice merges optics and genetics to control individual human cells using targeted light. By managing cellular responses with light, researchers aim to restore vision in patients and map out neuronal communication to treat neurological disorders. This animation shows a cross-section of dense biological tissue. Currently, optogenetics relies on a beam of blue light, but as you can see, the light dissipates at the surface because its wavelength is too short to penetrate the layers below. This means the treatment of deep-seated neurological disorders remains obstructed by basic physics. The light simply cannot reach the targeted cells. Because humans and dragonflies walked a parallel evolutionary path, the visual structures they developed are structurally compatible. Scientists are taking the specific near-infrared opsins from Gomphidi dragonflies, modifying them, and applying them directly to the human field of optogenetics. Watch what happens when we replace that short blue wave with a deep red near-infrared beam, the kind dragonflies see. The longer wavelength pierces downward through the multiple layers, directly reaching the targeted nodes at the bottom. With this light reaching its destination, doctors can trigger cellular and neuronal responses deep inside the body without an invasive procedure. The biological overlap between humans and dragonflies provides the specific mechanism needed to bypass surface tissue, reaching deep enough to manage neurological conditions without surgery.